And again, you call this a dumpster fire podcast. Ted is a professional producer.
You can't call this a dumpster fire without calling me a dumpster fire, so don't do it.
Okay, all right. You know what? I retract.
You know what it is? It's not that. It's false humility. It's faulty self-deprecation. Because this is not a dumpster fire. It's really not. It's a fun podcast. You have good conversations that have some levity in them.
The Hollow Buddy.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Hollow Bunny Leadership Podcast. I'm Kristen Zeman, and I am here with my cheerful and charming co-host, Sylvia Moyer. How you doing, Sil?
I'm stupendous, Kristen. And how are you after this week of travel?
I'm doing fantastic. We'd like to welcome all of our bunnies to the Hollow Bunny Leadership Podcast. As y'all know, we're former police chiefs, but this podcast is not just for cops. It's for anyone interested in talking about life and leadership and really nonsense, honestly. A lot of nonsense.
Not true.
Lessons that we've learned about life. But here's what I need to do first. Before I go on, I want to mention the sponsor that makes the Hollow Bunny podcast possible. Naked Attraction. Naked Attraction is a daring and unique dating game show from the UK that flips the script on traditional matchmaking. In this show, a single contestant is faced with 6 potential dates who are all standing in individual booths. The twist? Each date is completely nude, revealed gradually from the feet up in stages as the show progresses. The contestant eliminates a potential match in each round based on physical attributes until only 2 are left. Naked Attraction is the perfect show for those who enjoy thought-provoking content mixed with a bit of risque fun. So thank you to our sponsor, Naked Attraction.
Okay, so Kristen Zeman, let's just be real about this. I get the whole premise of the show, although I'm not going to select my future mate based on their genitals. But we are not sponsored by them. You're just a rabid fan.
That was a fake
rabid
sponsor.
Fan.
Listener, that
fake
was a
sponsor.
Fake ass sponsor. But don't you think we sound more important if we have sponsors? So I just thought that would be a really good one. And maybe now I put it into the universe and maybe they'll pick us up as a sponsor.
But would we accept?
Yeah. So we're desperate. Yeah.
That's not true. We
haven't paid Ted. We haven't paid our producer. He's literally, he can't feed his family because we don't have any actual legitimate sponsors. And so, I really feel like we should start, really, giving him, bonuses. And I don't know. We should also pay ourselves. I hear people do that.
Kristen, if we're going to give Ted a bonus, that implies that we're actually doing a performance evaluation. And we have yet to do a performance evaluation, and research informs that people really enjoy and they thrive with a performance evaluation. And that's a pathway to a bonus. And none of that shit's happening. None.
I'll start with Ted's
we're doing the evaluation?
Ted,
Okay,
I'm glad your face popped up because you know what I'm tired of? I'm tired of you calling me names like over-modulated. That feels mean and it feels personal. And when you're like, you're over-modulated, I'm like, you know what, punk? That's not good for my self-esteem.
What's a good euphemism for over-modulated?
Oh, I don't know. I got nothing.
Euphemism's a big word. What does that mean?
It is.
Although, on the plus side, that's a good title for our episode. What's a euphemism for over-modulated? Making a note now. Adios.
Right.
Here's what I also want to talk about today. Have you done 23andMe? Have you done the DNA? Have you spit into the vial to figure out your origin?
I did Ancestry.com to spit in the vial, wipe the insides, and turn it in. Yes, ma'am. I have. Same.
Okay, so today, tell me, does this happen to you? But this terrifies me. Today, I get an email. 23andMe would like to tell you that you have 8 new relatives. Do you know that I'm afraid to click on that? Because if I have relatives out there,
do it.
I don't know if they're not going to be upstanding.
Wait a minute. They'll be upstanding, but you're a big deal. So what's going to happen? They're going to find out about you. They're going to come to you. They're going to give you some compelling reason why you need to give them part of your millions, sign things for them, endorse them. It's all going to be it's cascading doom. No.
What if they are like a prince or a princess or something? I mean, I'm from Norway. I originate in Norway and I don't know my relatives. So what if I have like a royalty relative in that's a Norsk?
That could happen, but the likelihood is low. And I think what might happen is your identity as an only child, you may just fall right off of the only child pedestal in which you rest your delicious little ass.
We can't have that. I'm not opening the email. Sorry, 8 new relatives. We're not going to have a reunion. Yeah, we're not going to have a reunion. It's not.
You know what? It might be the Von Trapp family, though.
Oh my God, I would die. That would make sense.
But they're all
sing
Austrian.
So much. Yeah.
They sing, but they look very much like you.
What if I found the Norwegian version of the Von Trapp family, and those are my relatives? See, that would make sense to me. That would
happen. Yeah, okay, I'd like to know what surprises came out of your 23andMe. Any little bit of your DNA that you're like, oh, all right, I'm claiming it.
Yeah, just a little bit. That my mom's side, her relatives came from the hills of Tennessee, apparently. So, I found that out. So I'm half Norwegian, and then the other side is just half hills of Tennessee. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that explains my love of cowboy hats.
Yeah, and we got to talk about the cowboy hat thing in a minute. I found, I am Scottish, Irish. My people also come from the Iberian Peninsula, which is Madeira, which is Portugal. I've got some Hawaiian. Sexy. I've got like a couple percent Nigerian. Wow. Some English. It's very, very interesting.
So you just got back from Hawaii. Did you sling that Hawaiian ancestry around? Did you say, I am one of you? Aloha?
I might have.
Do you
speak? Because we can go to Ni'ihau. Now, what is Ni'ihau? It's owned by the Robinson family, prominent family from Hawaii. It's right off the coast of Kauai. So that's where my people come from. My great-grandfather was an indentured servant from Madeira to the pineapple fields in Hawaii, married a Hawaiian, bing, bang, boom. It's all kind of aloha, but I think it explains why I feel very at home there. Right?
Oh,
it gives me
like
equilibrium.
Your happy place. Yeah.
It is.
Oh my gosh. Who would have thought? I had no idea you had a little Hawaiian in you. Guess what? I'm getting you a coconut bra for Christmas. And a grass skirt.
Be really...
It's going to be, I know, I got to find some big cocoa nuts. I know.
I was going to say, you got to find some big cocoa nuts and make them nice. And I'm okay with all of that. And I'll get you one made of walnuts. Yeah.
Oh my God, between you and Ted, you guys are so hurtful. Over-modulated, and then now you have made
Ted.
Oh my gosh.
The princess is tender today, Ted. Okay, so let's just get to it. Since you're a scientist, I'd like to know why Adam Grant in Think Again, which is a fantastic book that we've been reading, right? Says when in scientist mode, we refuse to let our ideas become ideologies. We don't start with answers or solutions. We lead with questions and puzzles. And might that be a super interesting leadership lesson? What are you holding up there? What are you holding up,
babe? I've got a hardcover, and I always take the cover off just so I'm delicate with it, and then I put the cover back on and put it on my shelf.
Yeah.
But I have highlighted the crap out of this book.
Page 25.
Adore it.
Page 25, when we think in scientist mode, we lead with questions. Don't you think there's a really interesting and important thing there? I mean, you and I always lead with questions in a casual space with each other. Like, what's up? Where you been? Whose lives have you been changing? Who did you assault in Minneapolis, St. Paul? What kind of travel atrocities have you endured? There's that.
So you think that's me being curious, which is what Adam Grant is onto. But I love how he puts this into proper perspective by categorizing. You have the sports fan, and then you have, what is it, clergy. I'm trying to go for memory,
Yes.
or
Yep.
just like,
Preacher mode.
but yes, preacher mode, right? And it is so interesting is that we have these notions of other people that, gosh, people are, they just, they're not open, and they're not open to new ideas. And yet we really, need to hold a mirror up to see that we cling so hard to our beliefs, and it makes it so difficult for people to change our minds. So I love the notion, and how this applies and overlays in leadership, is that it's being curious. All, to me, this whole book, and I don't mean to oversimplify it, because Adam Grant is, a PhD, and he is a social scientist, professor, of course. But what it comes down to me is just really not believing everything you think. Just leave room
Right.
to go, gosh, maybe, just maybe I am wrong. But why is
Right.
that so hard? It's like simple, but not easy, right?
Right. And what he says is, in this scientist mode, which I find super appealing. And since you're a scientist, this will appeal to you.
Yeah.
We don't just have a healthy skepticism about other people's arguments. We dare to disagree with our own arguments. You and I both completed a thesis. You're smarter than I am, because I did too. But we go in with a hypothesis, we research, and then we really research to find truth. We don't find what supports our own argument. We go in with an idea, and then we research to really work on and crunch on that idea. And I think that's a really healthy thing for people and for leaders, because when we believe we're right, then we are flawed in the way that we approach this really amazing leadership opportunity. What page are you looking at there, sister?
I'm actually just kind of revisiting, because I marked it up so hard. I mean, just some of the things that
you used,
highlighted.
like, did you use a pad and a pencil?
Yeah.
Or did you?
Yeah, like in the Flintstones. Like it's really
like
bedrock.
underlining and okay.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Okay.
I highlight, you underline. So, but
Okay.
this is, do you know that, what's the saying? It goes something like this. I've seen it on t-shirts. F your feelings. And I was like, thought that was so interesting. And then it's funny. I highlighted this and just started laughing. It says, when it comes to our own knowledge and opinions, we favor feeling right over being right. And it just made me laugh, because it's so true. It's like how we feel about something doesn't make us right, just because we're strong in our convictions. So I loved this whole book, and I think every leader should read it, because you know what it really comes down to? It's about intellectual humility. You can be the smartest person in the room. You could be like you, who went to the Naval Postgraduate School. I mean, award winning. I'm just saying, and still, you have the intellectual humility to go, wow, maybe I'm wrong about this. And then we get mixed messages about confidence, and that we shouldn't say, so like the way that it's been described is, you should be more confident about your thoughts and ideas,
Okay.
and instead I like to leave it open at the end when I offer an idea to go, throw spears. Tell me, what am I missing here? And people say you shouldn't say that, as a confident leader, that you shouldn't say, what am I missing? Because it almost, like shows, this, I don't know if it's vulnerability or weakness, or that you don't know the answer. But the truth is that, to me, leaves room that we just may very well be wrong about our ideas. And best idea always wins, no matter where it comes from.
Right. And I got to say, I don't know who they are that's telling you that, but I claim bullshit with that. I really think when folks ask, like, how do you become, a chief of police? How do you become that CEO? I consistently say you increase your capacity for disappointing people. And then I also encourage them to become okay with sucking at something. You call it, I want to suck at something new. Some people call it failure. Some people call it not achieving your ideal and you're perfect. But I want to also say that there's a real agility that one gains in an equilibrium that they strengthen when they say, okay, well, I might suck at this, but I'm going to just go for it. And I think what puts you in that space is being okay with that is one failure, but you are not a failure.
Why
Right?
is that so hard? Why is that so hard?
don't-
I suck
I don't-
at so much. I mean, I sucked at leadership it was a remedial lesson for me. I mean, to try to attain, this level 5 leadership, which to me is like this godly thing. Never could it happen. Did I try every single day? Did I fall, fail? Yes. And get back up. But it's like, I don't know. I just, for some reason, I'm so comfortable. Maybe it's because it's just happened so much that I'm just like so comfortable with failing that I just don't, I'm like, whatever, you just keep going. Why is failing so hard?
I don't know, but I'm going to do a sporty ball thing. Growing up, I loved baseball, and then it became softball. Is it kind of you lead off, you try to steal, you fail, you get picked off, you get thrown out, and you suck it up and drive on. And I don't know, this is such a unifying, connecting characteristic that you and I share, Kristen. I have sucked and failed at more stuff than I've succeeded at, if I'm really to put the tallies. And what's so fascinating is rethinking my approach, rethinking, how I approach failure. It is not, it's this thing, and you've said it before and gave such clarity to it. To fail is not to be a failure. Yeah. And that, I think, is the thing. And I want to read something when you're ready about this from Adam Grant's book.
As if, am I sitting down ready? Because I'm ready.
Well,
I am
prologue,
ready.
page 7. He says this: if you're a firefighter, dropping your tools doesn't require you to unlearn habits and disregard instincts. Discarding your equipment means admitting failure and shedding part of your identity. You have to rethink your goal in your job, your role in life. And he talks about how we fail, how we enter into thinking, enter into spaces, and sometimes we're going to be wrong. And I think there's a correlation with the book that you and I both love that you recently wrote about, The 4 Agreements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's an interconnected piece here.
Well, and I love that you brought up that, if memory serves me right, it's been a minute since I've read the book, but what he was citing in that particular incident, it's so apropos to first responders, is that firefighters died and didn't make it out of a fire because they were because they were trained and taught to never drop your equipment,
tools.
And their brain went right there, and they could not deviate from that plan. Now, this is where the leadership lesson is that every leader knows in the middle of a high stake, high risk incident, you're constantly reevaluating and pivoting, which means that you do fall back on your training. That is so important. You fall back on the way that you were trained, but in the middle of it, there has to be someone. That's why we have command posts with clear thought process to go, I'm going to detach myself from this situation, get on the balcony, look down and go, what can we do best in this moment? Yes. And even though we may have to divert from what has been instilled in us, the training, but that would have saved their lives. The one that dropped their tools, their equipment, were the ones that survived because a great leader said, this is what you need to do. And the other ones didn't listen. So that's where the real learning takes place, where we can apply it to, especially first responders, who are the majority of our listeners, I gather.
For sure. It's disregarding your instincts.
Yeah, right. But it can be applied in any profession. Absolutely.
For sure. And I think it can be used broadly for sure. It is a really compelling story, and you expanded on it in a really interesting way. And I appreciate that you said that. When you start with, I love that, our listeners should go, okay, I need to pay attention, because that is your intro to something super profound. It
hits a little spark in my brain that makes it go. But hey, bunnies, if you haven't read Think Again by Adam Grant, I don't care what position that you are in, whether you're in a formal leadership position, doesn't matter. This is about being a human being and moving about the world and interacting with other people, because it really does, he asks you to just to reevaluate the way that you think. And most importantly, to leave yourself open for the notion that you might be wrong. And
Right.
that's where it's like we also have this like identity, attached to our beliefs, is that, this is my political party, and therefore anything that you say in opposition to my political party, is something that's going to make me defensive, and therefore you are an enemy. When one of my favorite things to do is go, these are the words I say. Oh my gosh, I couldn't think more differently than you do. Tell me how you got to this thought process, because I'm thinking, did I miss something? Because it's so in opposition
Sure.
of the way I think, that I love to hear how people got to where they are. And even that's so diabolically different. I love hearing that. And it's like, I'm not mad at you because you think differently than I do. I'm
Don't be
interested.
mad, bro. Right.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting. I used what he wrote on page 107 today because I was having a really difficult conversation, because we're in this budget process, right? And core services should be funded, right? So there was this thing that I used from Adam Grant where he said, he was describing how this guy began with, I think we disagree on far less than it may seem. So what he did was he offered that, and I used it today because he said this calls out the alignment on the problem and on the validity of some studies before objecting, before confronting. It's like, hey, I think we disagree on much more than it seems. And actually, I'd say we agree on almost everything. So help me understand those points where you see where we disagree, right? So and then let's talk about where we agree, and then let's talk about how we partner, and help me understand your perspective and points of tension. And what I received back because of using this approach was this person, we got more money, which was right. And we also, the person on the other side of this conversation rethought about his argument and his stance and didn't dig his heels in, because I wasn't approaching from, okay, we're going to go to battle now.
Yeah.
Does that resonate in any way?
Oh my gosh, yeah. And don't you think, this word, I don't know, if Adam Grant used it, but I feel like ego is so attached to our beliefs, and so there's like just that whole notion of like, I'm not going to relinquish my beliefs. One of the things that I really liked, and this is a lesson for leaders, and this made me think, as a general rule, it's those with greater power, and I'm going to just interject in here, greater power. I'll just say with maybe formal rank or title, right?
Okay.
That word power is just used, I think, in that context. It is those with greater power who need to do more of the rethinking, because both they are more likely to privilege their own perspectives, and because their perspectives are more likely to go unquestioned. Now, how true is that? How many times have you sat in a meeting?
Wow.
And especially when I was of much lower rank, sitting in a meeting where I never spoke up. I can remember thinking, oh my gosh, that leader is so out of touch. And yet I didn't question, I didn't challenge, because that individual is of rank. And, and I don't know if that is, that's certainly something we need to change that's a culture issue. The fact that, I couldn't speak up and wouldn't. And I know that was the culture of the way it was. But think about that is, I call that the dog that did not bark. When we become silent, then, these people just, the leaders who no one questions them. So they just automatically assume that they're right. So we as leaders, especially in higher ranking positions of power, need to open ourselves up and go, okay, here's what I think. What do you all think? And I think if someone would have done that to me in my early years, I think I would have said, well, actually, here's what I think, but no one ever asked. And so I love that. That's why a lot of leaders get so confident in the way they think, because no one questions them.
Really solid point. And in fact, I had this conversation on Monday, and it seems like like we're kind of, it's so timely. It's like going to church and the preacher speaking about something that's troubling you. So here we are. So just Monday, I had this conversation and recap of a meeting where a mid-level manager, something came up in this human performance advancement team. And the individual said, hey, the line level folks are saying they want this piece of equipment. And the mid-level manager that was present said, we don't need to do that. We bought that before and nobody ever used it. And so nobody rose up and disagreed and said, this might be a new day, a new time, that if we get this piece of equipment, that folks might engage differently. It was very, very interesting watching the micro cues around the room. They just shut down. To your greater point. So that mid-level manager and I had a conversation about how might that advance in the future. And how might it advance? It's like, okay, well, we hear that, and we have some folks that might think that's beneficial, but we have others that there might be some history that says that piece of equipment would be questionable. So why don't we form a quick hit team to evaluate all these new things that people want? And then that team will be informed and everybody will have voice and we'll prioritize, instead of immediately saying, no, that's bull. The last time they didn't use this shit, so I don't want to buy it again. Instead of that, how might you approach that differently?
Yeah, what a lesson there. Just to get more input for sure. I think that and we fall into that's also this is the way we've always done it, and it didn't work the first time, and so therefore it's not going to work the second time. Instead of dissecting why didn't it work, what was the barrier there, so that's so important.
Okay, I want to show you this. Okay, so I have this. I'm not gonna whoop whoop whoop, so you can't really see it, but it's a little chart.
Is that a?
It's a card.
It's a card. It's not yellow legal pad. Because we are also sponsored. Right in your face. We are right now. We are also sponsored by Yellow Legal Pads and Number 2 Pencils. A shout out to our sponsor. Thank you so much, Number 2 Lead Pencils.
Yeah, thank you.
Carry on. Show me your chart.
I love you.
Show me your chart.
Kristen,
describe your chart. People are driving, Sylvia. Describe your chart.
She's accepting you, yellow pad people, and Number 2 pencils for money only. I'm doing it out of love. Let's just recognize the ugly truth. Kristen's a monster. Okay, so
and Kristen, an over-modulator.
Oh God, I have always loved over-modulators. So they're great on a weekend, but not full time. So I gotta say, Adam Grant also.
So funny. Why is that so funny?
I don't know. You don't get a drawer, but you get to visit.
Oh my God.
He also talks about a challenge network. Do you remember this?
Yes.
Okay, so for our readers, Adam Grant does a masterful job at talking about a challenge network, and where he talks about on page 83, the ideal members of a challenge network are disagreeable. I kind of reframe that and say my challenge network is forthright. Out of love, they're going to tell me the straight scoop. They're going to throw spears at it, like Kristen says. They're going to really engage with me and get me to think about the decisions that I'm making. So I made a little chart of my challenge network. You know who's at the center of my challenge network? Go ahead.
No.
Well, my brother and sister are there.
Yeah.
But at the center, in the biggest little org box of all of them, is Tunny. Because there is a few words, get to the point, but I know.
Hold on. Pause. Okay, for our listeners, Tunny is my wife. And second, I would love to challenge you on this because you just said, I prefer that we don't call them disagreeable. Chris couldn't be more disagreeable. She is not gentle in the way that she says it. You've just described what you like as just like a little you know what, I'm going to push back. Because that's me. Because that's me. I'd like to push back on you. Tunny is like, you're insane. You're like, listen to
Run
me
the
right
fuck
now.
away.
So
listen, I'm going to shake you. Listen.
She's like, listen, you stupid idiot. So that made me laugh because you're just like, I just really don't like it. He calls them disagreeable. And then you just described Tunny because that's what she is.
Okay,
that's why you call her for the hard truth, because she will look at you and go, yeah, okay, seriously? Are you serious right now?
Here's the deal, listeners. To really put a finer point on this, I have an array of folks with an array of approaches in my challenge network. My sister, my brother, Diz and Jen, Kristen, Chris, Jet, Brenda. Maria is like the overarching, like,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
So my challenge network has a variety of approaches. There's the Kristen she's a butt biter. She will ask great questions. She'll be a little bit more tender, but use big words. Sexy as fuck, right? With the big words. Tunny will be like, I'm going to shake you. I'm going to slap you. I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to bleed you slow if you don't do, but everybody has
exactly.
Here's the point, listeners.
Okay.
Create your very own challenge network, because we all need the disagreeable people are more open to being critical. They're skeptical, they're direct, they're influenced by their life experience, and they just want to shoot it straight, right? And then other people have different approaches. And what I'm offering is create a challenge network. Know the strengths of the people.
Yeah, I love that. And these are my days. I wrote about those in my book. My days. I've now sort of morphed them into, I call them my front row now that I do so much speaking, and I actually picture my days in the front row.
Yes.
But to your point, they are the people in your life who literally, here is how I describe these people is, when something great happens to you, you want to pick up the phone and call them and go, here is what happened to me. And you know that on the other end, there is going to be genuine happiness because you've achieved something, or even just had, a great day, whatever, happy news, right? They are also the same people who will look at you either disagreeably or a little more gentle and say, listen, you are not your best. And I love them. This is also the list, by the way, listeners, you need to do this. You need to make a list just like Syl did. Draw a chart of the people in your life who are these people who genuinely want to see you succeed, but also will call you on your bullshit. And you need people in your life. Now, it's up to you how you can better receive that, because some people really aren't good with having someone like a Tunny that's like, listen, what you're doing is stupid. So they're also, you do have to have a more gentle approach. I like to do this like, would you like me to tell you what you want to hear, or do you want me to tell you the truth? And sometimes people are just not ready to hear the truth. They're just ready to hear what they want to hear. So it's important to have those people in your ecosystem, your truth tellers, and then you have to dictate how you receive that information, in what way, what method. Ooh, is that a pencil?
For sure. This is a pencil. And what you just gave me was this idea to put my tunnies, the disagreeable people, the critical, the ones with maybe some hard edges, like in a rectangle. So the hard edge is the rectangle. They're the people that are going to shoot straight, that are, she's like, Syl, fewer words, please.
She says less words, Syl.
Less words.
Less words.
Yeah. Syl. And where we can be more essence than detail. Jet is I'm more essence than detail, right? Mm-hmm. So we know our people. So maybe what we do is we put our agreeable people that are this support network that approaches us differently in a circle or an oval. Yeah. And so I don't know. I just think it's a really cool, interesting experiment. I do want to explore this front row thing because, like, I have been in space where you are speaking, and I fucking want to scream with joy and get up and standing ovation and just I love you so big. I'm not going to throw my panties up on the stage. That would be weird. But I am definitely Ted definitely would, which we need to explore. Boxer's briefs, that whole thing with Ted.
Tidy whities.
There is a very interesting and important piece. We need those people in our lives that are going to cheer for us, that are going to absolutely support us and cheer at the highest for all of our successes. They never they're not jealous. They're not envious. They are absolutely cheering for you.
Thank you. And I love that. Thank you. And that's why you're in my front row, because I know that you are there cheering, and I have to think about that on those days that, I'm scared, all of the things, uncertain. You said something so important that you need that people, here's where people get sometimes a little tripped up. And I said this on stage the other day, and people literally like cheered. Just because someone is in your circle does not mean they are in your corner. There are people that do not want to see you succeed that are in your circle. That the people that are like, I'm not happy for you when you grow and when you improve, because what happens is that insecurity leaves them behind. And so they secretly want to see you fail. Just because they're in your circle does not mean they're in your corner. And you said it, and that's just a different way of saying it.
Woo!
That's
right.
big.
So
that's
what do you do with that?
See, that's tough.
Okay.
Because you don't usually find out until too late, right?
Damage.
Think about how many times you've had someone in your circle and you found out later that, that they were disingenuous, that, maybe a little manipulative, or maybe even just simply when it came down to you've succeeded in something and they start to become aloof, maybe they start, to pull back, or, when you do call them and say, oh my gosh, I'm so excited, this great thing happened in my life. And they're like, oh, cool. So I don't know the answer to that. I'm not that smart of a scientist, but I do know that when it happens to you, that then when you start to figure out, wow, that person is really not, it's just, they're in my circle, but they're not in my corner. And sadly, I think you almost have to find that out the hard way. What do you think?
Experiential, totally. September 8th, 2022. I sent you this meme. And I'm going to change the term women to people. People need other people in their lives who think they are a big deal. No competition, no backhanded comments, no jealousy, no hate. Just, I love you, I support you, and there is no one on earth like you kind of energy. And it's true. We need those people in our lives.
You know what? Can I also say something? So I called you yesterday.
It's your podcast.
Answer.
It's your podcast.
No,
I answered, but I didn't have connection.
No. So, I was having a moment yesterday. It wasn't a good one. It was like I've really struggled with like reaching out, because I just feel like, gosh, I should never complain about anything. I feel so fortunate in this life. And whenever I'm feeling like icky or sad, I feel like, like I have to just get over this. And I usually do. I can usually talk myself out of it. But I want to make something very important is first of all, you're one of the ones that I call, but two, also something that you said as I wasn't looking for advice. And I ended up, and I called my friend Alex, and she said, just like, me too. She said, me too. And she's like, I sometimes feel that way too. And there was no trying to solve the problem. It was just, me too, buddy, and, what do you need? And I said, nothing, just to kind of say it out loud. So sometimes we feel like we have to be the person that goes, listen, here's what you need to do. When I just was like in a place, right, where, I just needed someone to go, me too, and just kind of sit with me in the mud for a minute. And so that's really important, to just show up for people, and don't look away, and you're always that person for me, except for when you have a bad connection. So
I was having coffee in the Kaiser little hospital cafeteria, and it rang, and I said, oh, excuse me, it's Kristen. I answered Kristen.
How dare you
I was like,
not make yourself accessible?
Hello. Yeah. And I said, I'll call her back. But I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
Who did you call? Alex? I'm going to say
friend Alex. So,
you notice I didn't send this to Alex because I'm competing. I want Alex to know right now. She called me first. The only reason she didn't fucking called you, Alex, is because I was in Kaiser. And I couldn't get the connection. So I'm competing.
I'm going to let you have that.
She can't be jealous. She can't hate, because there's a pecking order here, sister. And I don't know this, Alex, but
she's the best. I'm going to let you have that. It was 4:40 Central Time, and I was like, Alex is still at work, so I'm going to call Sil just because you don't do anything during the day, so that's why I was calling you.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
what, Kristen,
I want to say something else. Let me finish here. I just want to say something else. I read this, and I wish I could have the citation. Maybe we can add it later. But I read something that in our lives there are illuminators and diminishers.
Oof.
Yeah. How about that? And there are people that truly
Lord.
just, just they light you up, and,
Yep.
and there are people who diminish, just just take away your sparkle. Right. And so, that's what we have to surround ourselves, people, with the illuminators. And bunnies, all of our listeners, be an illuminator for someone else as well. It's just as much as is this reciprocity of giving and receiving, and there's so many illuminators in my life, and really trying to rid my life of the diminishers, and I'm pretty successful at that. But thank you for being an illuminator in my life. And also, look at what I did. I bought your Toomey bag. I bought your Toomey bag. Do you know how long I've had this in my cart?
So beautiful.
Do you want to? Can you smell her?
Oh,
my gosh,
should I get mine? What did you do on your tag? You went with tan.
Nothing, buddy. I didn't actually. I'll tell you the story of, but I didn't.
I went
tan
with
by,
black
on purpose
with pink letters to just add a little sparkle of girl.
Yeah.
Kristen, please describe to me how this feels, because
Oh my God.
I'm in a 1 year no buying a bag, a jacket, or shoes. A whole year. I've made it to almost May.
Am I taunting you? Am I taunting you by showing you this new bag? Because I was
do I have a
worried about
sponsor?
telling you. Because listeners,
No.
Here's what happened. We were in a hotel, and
Yes.
and Sylvia walks into our hotel room, and she has this
I sauntered.
sexy ass bag, and I said, "Sil, could you
Wait,
leave?
stop
I'm gonna
after
need the
sexy
room."
ass. Stop after sexy ass. Tell
And
it
I said,
again.
"Sil,
Tell it
could
again.
you?" Okay. Let me talk slower and with my more
Thank
sensual
you.
voice.
Thank
I said,
you.
"Sil,
Thanks.
could you leave the room? Could you leave me alone with your Toomey bag in this hotel room? Because I just wanted to violate her bag so hard." and I was like, "Where'd you get it?" And then and so I have been visiting. When did we go? That was November. That was last
It
year.
was. It was.
And I've been trying to support you by not buying that many bags, because
Thank
I
you.
want to be here for you. And
You're an
yet
illuminator.
finally, when I was sad sitting in Toronto airport because I was just exhausted, I just was like, done. I'm doing it. I'm buying this bag. I actually bought two. I bought another brand too, but I just was like, I was out of control. I'm not
so proud
condoning
of you.
stress shopping, sad shopping, but that's what I was doing. I was tired shopping. But anyway, I just wanted to show you I got the Toomey bag, and I have no
She's a
regrets, no
beauty.
buyer's remorse. Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for bringing this bag fetish. I've caught it. It's a virus. I've caught it, and I can't wait until January of 2025 when you start buying bags again, because
This
honestly, I live for it.
Happen.
Yeah.
Kristen,
we're going to get through
I
this
have-
together, and I'm here for you.
We are. And I got to say, your control, your discipline, I have to think it came from cold plunge. It might come from a little bit of my square, crunchy, challenge network human saying, no, you're not buying that freaking bag. But I am so proud. You deserve it. It will bring you years of joy. It is a durable, utilitarian little piece of something with a little zhuzh. I love it so big. You know, that
Thank
means
you for that.
2 bags in your life. That little Coach Beauty from New York.
Yeah.
And now
All because of you.
this.
Yeah.
God, I am
This
changing the world.
podcast, Bunnies, this podcast is brought to you by Coach and Toomey as well.
Yes.
Oh my God, we've got some baller sponsors. We're living large,
Okay.
girl.
If we're buying their products, are they really sponsoring us, or are we sponsoring them? I think we may have to go to
feels
business
backwards.
school, because it
Do you think we're bad at this?
I think
Do you think we're bad at business?
Clearly, yes. I don't even
think
have
we're
to
bad at
vote.
business.
I don't have to think about it.
Oh my
Yes,
gosh.
but I'm so proud of you. I can't wait to see what
Thank
you
you.
put on that little tag. And every time you go to a Toomey store, you can get a new one. You try the
a new
black one
bag?
with the pink, the little tag, the black with the pink. You
Oh,
can
the
do
monogram.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
come on.
do you know? Do you know that I used to shit on people with monograms? I used to make fun of people with monograms
Yeah,
because I was like, "Oh my god, that's so pretentious." But
you're mean.
secretly, like when when you get worked up about something and you judge something, it's because like there's
Yeah.
something deeper in there.
Mhm.
I think it's just because I was envious and really secretly loved it, so I made fun of it, and then I got like my first monogram shirt, and I thought, this is delicious. And so
Okay.
now I'm obsessed with monograms. What is that?
Yes.
That's terrible. What does that say about me?
It's a well, it
I
says
remake the bed.
that it says that you're amazing. I don't want you to get really obsessive about pickleball because then you turn into a pickleballer. Like I'm a gait snob, so then I'm talking about the gait, and then all of a sudden I limping because of something. I just think we need to reserve judgment. I think we need to
Okay,
reserve
let's do
judgment.
that.
I'm so
Let's
proud
do
of you,
that.
though.
Thank you. What I hear you saying is you love pickleball and that you are not reserving judgment. That's what I took from this conversation. And all of our pickleball listeners will be so
No.
happy to hear that you have turned a corner.
No,
So,
no,
wow,
ma'am.
this is big.
Back to Adam
stop talking.
Grant.
Let's just end it right there. End it right there.
Not going to happen, ma'am, because Adam Grant said rethinking is not just an individual skill, it's a collective capacity. So you need to rethink what you just said, young lady.
Oh, where I took that is you are rethinking pickleball and that you really got a lot out of this book. So, gosh, you are such a consummate student, and I am also proud of you. I'm proud of you for expanding your mind and thinking like a scientist, and you're proud of me for buying a bag. There's a big disparity there.
Well, might be. And our listeners have a lot of things to jot down.
They really do.
Yes.
Did you write them down? Did you take notes on your own comments?
This is a recording. I can play it back. I mean,
you can't play it back. Oh, listen,
Kristen,
it has been a hoot. Thank you.
What a treat.
Thank you.
And while we connect with each other, we have a good time, and I learn something every time. And you're an illuminator, not only for the people in your close sphere, your circle, your front row, but you're an illuminator broadly. So keep adding value to the world. You're an extraordinary human. I'm really delighted to share this space with you.
Thanks, babe.
And make all the money that we make, the millions. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so much with all these sponsors. This is crazy, all these sponsorships. So listen, a big shout out to our listeners. I have to tell you, and I'll close it here, is that going, to conferences and speaking and have people walk up to me going, I love your podcast. I cannot wait to meet Sylvia. She is a hoot. She makes me laugh. And I just love hearing that. So thanks to all of you guys who have stuck with us on this little journey of our, what is it called? Infotainment that someone called us. There's a lot of infotainment going on here. And I love that term. So thank you. And we want you all to know that Ted Madden produces this podcast.
Yes, he does.
And the song that you are about to hear is very close to my heart because it was written and performed by my son, Jake Zeman, and his accomplished friends, Fabian and Zoe. If you like the podcast, please subscribe, please like it, review it, tell everyone you know about it. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you don't, what do you know about podcasts anyway? Keep filling your own bunnies and keep adding substance to others. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
When you look inside, what do you find? Are you content to fall behind? When you lose your way and you've lost your why? Have courage and get ready to fight the hollow buddy. When the way ahead is covered in smoke and you're tired and scared and you're losing hope, you'll open your heart and your eyes and see a challenge and a question. Why not me? To fight the hollow buddy. And we all feel hollow sometimes, but the monsters are only in your mind. It's a tough pill to swallow, but if you're brave and kind, you'll be alright. If you fight the hollow buddy. fight instead. To change the world, you've got to start small. It takes a leader to say, I don't know it all. And I know I'm gonna fall, but I'll pick it up and come back stronger. Failing forward and moving onward, doing the hard thing and the right thing, forever fighting the hollow bunny. And we all feel hollow sometimes, but the monsters are only in your mind. It's a tough pill to swallow, but if you're brave and kind, you'll be alright. If you fight the hollow bunny. If you're tough on the outside but empty within, something's gonna crack, you've gotta start again. You're tough on the outside but empty within, something's gonna crack, you've gotta start again. The monster